Roblox has a lot of games on it, but none of them have a more interesting story than Tower Defense Simulator. Created on the 5th of June 2019 and officially released on the 15th, TDS has been on Roblox for over 6 years, and over that time it's racked up over 4.2 billion visits, 3.2 million favorites, and gets over 10,000 new players every day. It's a great game, but this video isn't going to talk about that. This is going to be about how TDS almost died. It all started back in January of 2020, where Below Natural, the lead developer of TDS, posted an image of a golem, and stated that it would be in the upcoming hardcore mode. While this enemy was never actually released, it was the start of many leaks and teasers for what would eventually be known as the Overhaul update. Later that month, a second leak was posted to the Discord, being the first image of the hardcore portal, and as February rolled around, even more teasers were dropped, including one of the new fallen Swordmaster attacking enemies with swords. In April, Razwatix announced that he would be stepping up as the co-owner of TDS, and announced some of the updates that were planned, which included the Overhaul update. He also stated that the developers wouldn't make the same mistake of miscalculating deadlines, which, yeah, that statement didn't go down very well. As summer came around, the leaks went into overdrive, with images of new enemy types, R15 rigging, new crate opening animations, tower redesigns, a brand new lobby, player profile cards, a new golden skin for Soldier, and even an entirely new spawning tower called the Mecha Base. Now, it's not like nothing else was happening. While the Overhaul update was being made, the devs still pushed out a lot of major updates. On the 6th of April, they released an Easter event, which had two modes, one for the Roblox-wide egg hunt, and one for the newest event tower called the Swarmer. On the 29th of April, they released a new game mode called Polluted Wastelands, where the final boss was the Nuclear Fallen King and had 500,000 health. On the 26th of May, they added the Pursuit Tower, which was the tower obtained by reaching level 100. They also added a 4th of July update and a load of other smaller features to TDS. However, because the hardcore update had been hyped for so long, it was the one that the community was most excited for. And 6 months after the first leak, there was finally a release date, being the 21st of August, and the community was thrilled for the release. Unfortunately, only 3 days later, Below Natural announced a delay, explaining it was due to multiple issues, including the crate system not working correctly, personal issues, and Razwatix having internet problems. Now, for a game whose community had already dubbed it Tower Delay Simulator, this obviously wasn't well received. However, a new release date was quickly set to be the 28th of August, only a week later than originally planned. As the date drew closer and closer, people started to lose their anger and regain their excitement, which was only raised by the fact that it was going to be a live update. Nowadays, live updates are pretty common, but 5 years ago it basically hadn't been done, and the novelty of a live update was even drawing in players who didn't know anything about TDS. With the portal finally added to the game, combined with an in-game timer to mark how long until it opened, the hype only grew stronger and stronger as the days passed by, all the way until the 28th of August. With just hours left on the timer, people rushed to join TDS, and with all the new players that had joined, TDS managed to peak at over 100,000 active players, which is still the highest TDS has ever reached at one time. As the timer hit 0, a cutscene played, where purple glowing meteors crashed down into the lobby, and the sky turned a deep purple color. Finally, the portal opened and sucked in the surrounding lobby like a black hole, eventually turning the screen dark, where the game shut down and everyone was left waiting. And waiting. And this is where the first signs of issues started showing up, as the game continued to be shut down for half an hour before finally reopening to the public, and it was a disaster. As 100,000 players joined back to see the new update, they realized that it was very broken. Within a couple minutes, the game was shut back down again, for the first of many times, as the developers tried to fix the issues with the game, but because of just how many there were, it wasn't possible. There were data migration issues, where some players just lost all their stuff, essentially setting them back to square one. An unobtainable event tower called Archer was re-released into the shop for 1 coin. Golden crates, which had previously been 50,000 coins to buy, suddenly only cost 1,000, 50 times less than before. If you clicked the open crate button multiple times, you would get multiple skins, even from the wrong crate entirely. You could buy the Mecha Base, a tower which is still unfinished and unobtainable to this day. Even the main point of the update, which was hardcore mode, couldn't be accessed by most people because it was randomly region locked. There were a lot more issues than this, but because the entire game's code had been rewritten, even though recoding the game was such a big undertaking, it's not actually new content, and it didn't feel like much had actually changed. I mean, yeah, basically every tower got redone, but only a few actually changed significantly, with most only getting minor tweaks to their stats. Not only that, but basically every tower rework was either unbalanced or just straight up bad, and almost everybody hated it. Additionally, the John Tower, which was a tower based off the Low Natural's IRL friend, was removed and replaced with the Militant, which was just a bad tower. Not to mention the fact that content such as Golden Mode and the Platinum crates were just straight up removed. In retrospect, you can easily see why the players thought the devs didn't care about the game anymore. Thankfully, there was a new hardcore mode that was added in the update. It was a much harder mode than normal games, with it requiring every type of detection, including the new lead detection, everything costing 50% more than usual, and only giving cash to players when the enemies were actually killed. Unfortunately, this was an issue. Because hardcore mode was so, well, hard, only the best players even had a possibility of winning, and even they didn't enjoy the mode. Not only this, but because it had a level 50 barrier for entry, a lot of players couldn't even try it, and all of those new players who had joined for the live update just had nothing to do. Hardcore having such a specific audience just doesn't go with an update this big. And yeah, there was the new Accelerator Tower, which was by far the best DPS in the game, but because it was locked behind the new mode, it just made people even more upset. Sure, there was a load of new content, but because the majority of it either wasn't good or was behind a barrier, it didn't meet the expectations of the player base. The same day of release, the insane amount of bugs in the game forced the developers to have to completely undo the update and revert it to its previous state. So instead, they set the hardcore update as a separate place where user data wasn't even saved, and it wouldn't be until 2 months later when the update was finally re-released. Hey, before we get back to the video, I'm trying to reach 2.5 thousand subscribers to unlock the content creator name tag, so if you like this video, then maybe consider subscribing. Also, check out my Discord where you'll be able to chat with me, get notified for my new videos, and you'll be able to give your own feedback on my upcoming content. Anyway, back to the video. With the disaster of the overhaul update having nuked TDS's player count, they knew they had to recover fast, so they started working on the new Halloween event. Only one day after the full release of hardcore mode, there was a new leak for 2 new ghost skins and for the Commander Tower. And just 1 day later, the new Halloween event had already dropped, and it was crazy. It was a whole new event game mode, which came with 15 new enemies, 2 new maps, 2 new skin crates, containing a total of 12 new skins and 5 returning skins. It also added 3 new limited time emotes and a new code to the game. All of this came with the new Battle Pass system, which doesn't sound too great until you realize that it's completely free to play, and as you leveled up, it would give you most of the new content for free. Lastly, it was all encompassed with a new Halloween lobby, packaged with some banger music from Focus, the lead composer for TDS. It was a great event, with a load of new content that kept it fresh to play, so of course it was well received, and players knew it was just a precursor to what the Christmas event could be. As the devs began to prepare for the new Christmas event, 2 old event towers were re-released for a limited time, being the Archer and Slasher, and the second half of the Halloween update got released, bringing with it a few more skins and some bug fixes. Overall, a great month, but one that looked like it would be overshadowed by December and the upcoming winter event that came with it. On the 19th of November, there was a progress report from Razwatix, which mentioned the struggles that the team had been facing, and he stated that they were looking to do much better in the new year. Unfortunately, this meant that the winter event would have to be pushed back a bit, but thankfully the community mostly weren't upset, because near the end of the report he mentioned the event tower for the Halloween update had been finished. On the 19th of December, a new badge was created for TDS, which confirmed the upcoming winter event, and with December only weeks away, people were hyped for its release. But as Christmas rolled closer and closer, and as other games started to release their Christmas events, TDS still had nothing. As December passed and the new year began, there were no new leaks for what would have been the Christmas event, but as the start of February arrived, the developers announced that they'd hired some new modelers to create some maps and skins, and teasers started to be leaked to the public, which included previews of the new Frost skins and the animations for the upcoming Frost crate, from which they're obtained. At this point, it had been almost 3 months since the last update, and as the 8th annual Bloxy Awards arrived, TDS managed to get nominated for the 2nd time ever. However, players would have to wait a bit longer if they wanted to see the results. Okay, so this next bit that I say, it is right, but it's meant to be in part 3 instead of part 2, and yeah, I've been editing this for like 30 hours, And honestly, I cannot be bothered to re-edit all of this just to fix a little mistake, so I'm sorry. Unfortunately, because it had been so long since new content had been added to TDS, even videos on YouTube started to get stale. And with people such as Elite starting to run out of ideas, content started to become more and more repetitive, which only worsened the feeling of abandonment for the game. And it wouldn't be until the end of the month until Razwartex would speak up again. The main lobby for the game was still stuck on the Halloween theming, and while Focus does make some banger music, it had been 4 months that the players had been listening to the same thing over and over again. Thankfully, it was going to be replaced with a new summer lobby. It was also stated that the winter event theming would change slightly, as, well, the winter had already come and gone, and releasing a winter event in spring would be a little odd. The only issue with this is that this planned update never happened. And this is where the situation began to get worse, because it had been over 4 months since the Halloween event had been released, and yet there was no new update, and the event tower that was told to be completed still hadn't arrived. As the week passed, new teasers dropped from the developers, however they began to be received with more and more hate from the community. Luckily, as the Bloxy Awards were being announced, the community joined together and eagerly awaited the winners of the event. And they won! TDS actually won the Bloxy Awards, and in celebration, the devs released a new skin for the commander only a few weeks later. Unfortunately, the hype didn't last long, as the players slowly realized the event was still unreleased, and it wouldn't be until another 2 months had passed until the event would finally arrive. After more than 6 months since the last actual update in TDS, the Christmas event had finally arrived, and it was even crazier than the last one. With this massive update came an insane amount of content, including a new event tower for the event, and the Halloween event tower which had finally arrived. It also came with 5 new maps, 15 new enemies, a new frost-themed lobby, 3 new emotes, and a new skin crate which contained 4 new and exclusive skins. All of this new content was obtained through the return of the Battle Pass system, which, again, was free to play. Not only that though, but the developers decided that that wasn't enough new content, so over the next week they added 4 new codes. The only downside to this was that because of the new lobby, the old Halloween event was removed, which was actually good. However, the polluted Wastelands game mode was also removed, and it wouldn't be re-added until over 2 years later, when it was reworked and re-added as a permanent mode to play. With the Halloween event having lasted over 6 months, it quickly became known as the longest event in TDS history. However, as summer came and went, the Frost Invasion event was still there, and it would stay there for over 210 days, breaking the record for the longest event in TDS, literally 1 update after it was created. Before I go, I just want to give a huge thank you to my members, especially my tier 3 member, Maybe Tigger. I'm going to be doing a Q&A when we reach 2.5k subs, so join the Discord if you want to submit your own questions. This video has taken me over 35 hours of work to make, so it means a lot that you watched until the end. And on that note, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.